So today we continue with our class Shabbos Home, and this session and all that we're going to cover today should be also dedicated to Leilu Neshama Velben Ben Zion, also Lechavda Rifah Shlema, to our dear Rabbi Yaron Ruvenshli. His name is Yaron Ben Doris, Ariela Ora Basana, Mimrasi Rachel Bas Braindel. Also, it's Lacharabat to Giveras Hana Bas Avram Avinu and the whole family. So we continue today with our class Shabbos Home, and today we start new chapter number 33, lucky number, and our topic is Extinguishing a Fire. Mechabeh. Okay, so section number 1, the Av Melachah, as usual, right? Mechabeh, Extinguishing a Fire, is one of 39 Avos Melachos. As we have often explained, all Avos Melachos are based on activities performed during the construction of the Mishkan. One such activity is extinguishing fires in order to produce charcoals. Charcoals burn hotter than the plain wood. It was used in the Mishkan for melting metal, which requires especially intense heat. Okay, that's it. So very simple. So let's quickly review. So section number 1, extinguishing fire. So extinguishing was also done for constructive purpose. So all the melachas for constructive purpose. So same is said that demolition, also constructive purpose, meaning to build something in its place. Same is extinguishing fire. All right. Meaning why to create charcoals? How do you create charcoals? You burn wood, right, and then you extinguish, and then and it burns much hotter in order to melt metal, right? Metal like gold and silver, so you need to purify them. So meaning to purify, you have to separate the precious metals from all of the dross. Okay, no problem. So it was done for constructive purpose. Of course, as we know by now, if it was not done for constructive purpose, that's it is still forbidden, but on a rabbinical level. And the next section is number 2, definition. Mechabeh is defined as extinguishing or diminishing a fire. Again, defined as extinguishing, diminishing a fire. This can be accomplished by various ways, as will be explained below section 5. Okay, so meaning completely extinguish or partially extinguish. Well, for example, somebody have a gas stove, right, or they have a dimmer, right, dimmer for lights, and they may make it smaller, less. Like dim the lights also, or dim the fire. If somebody have electric stove. Okay, so completely, extinguish or partially. So continue. Very short section. Baruch Hashem. Section number 3, and it says the Torah Prohibition. In order to transgress the Torah Prohibition of Mechabeh, one must perform the act extinguished for its own sake. So, meaning if we already know from we can see from the first sentence, most likely it does not apply to us. This means that one's purpose of extinguishing fire cannot simply be to rectify an undesirable condition, right? For example, to save one's belongings from being burned. If this is one's purpose, his act is deemed as a Melachah not performed for its own sake, which is permitted under biblical law. So, of course, under the rabbinic law is still forbidden. Okay. Rather, one's purpose in extinguishing the fire must be to achieve the positive benefit. For example, if one extinguishes the fire in order to produce charcoal, his act provides a positive benefit. For this for he has produced something new in the only way it can be produced, through extinguishing fire. Therefore, he has violated the Torah Prohibition. Why is the Torah Prohibition limited to act that provides a positive benefit? It is because the activity upon which the Melachah is based, namely extinguishing, performed during the construction of Mishkan, possess these characteristics. Since the original act of extinction was one that achieved positive benefit, the Av Melachah that is derived from this must do so as well. So, I mean, the only example that I would have, as it says in we said in our class preparation for Shabbos, when men is supposed to at least prepare candles. So women would light the candles, but men would prepare the candles. And there we said that especially in olden days. Now today that it does not apply. In the olden days. So in order for the wick to catch the fire better, so it's proper to light the wick, then extinguish and just leave it like that. So next for a man. So next time a woman lights the candle, it catches to the fire very easily. So that's that's of course, as we see, for constructive purpose. But otherwise, like in our life, it's most likely it's going to be for forbidden on a rabbinic level. So let's do from the beginning and try to understand. So again, section number 3, the Torah prohibition. In order to transgress the Torah prohibition, mechabes, so meaning extinguishing, one must perform the act of extinguishing for its own sake. So meaning the act of extinguishing would bring some positive result. This means that one's purpose in extinguishing the fire cannot be simply to rectify the undesirable situation, undesirable condition. For example, to save one's belongings from being burned. Right. So even though it's, as we said, it would be forbidden on a rabbinical level. So right. So since even to extinguish this fire, we should do it indirectly. So we're going to learn how. Right. Indirectly. If this is one's purpose, right? This is deemed the act, deemed a Melachah, not performed for its own sake, which is permitted under biblical law. So, but as we understand, it would be forbidden under rabbinical law. So, when it's something that is permitted under biblical law, meaning the person is not going to get death penalty. That's what it means. Rather, the one's purpose in extinguishing the fire must be to achieve positive benefit. So again, in our life, it does not apply. For example, if one extinguishes fire in order to produce charcoal, this act provides a positive benefit and he has produced something new in the only way it can be produced. So I mean, all this wording is very, very precise. So in its only way it could be produced, right, through extinguishing the fire. Okay. Therefore, he has violated the Torah prohibition. Why is the Torah prohibition limited act of providing positive benefit? I mean, it's actually, as we said before, it's for all of the Melachah. It's not only for this, for all of them. It's something like creative benefit. Some right. So on Shabbos in general, just quickly. So on Shabbos we're not allowed to create. So even with this extinguishing, we create something new, some new entity, as we explained before, these charcoals that is going to be used, right? Or with demolition, as we learned in previous chapters. So we create a new space, right, where we can build a new structure. Okay, so it's also for positive results. Or erasing, right? Erasing, we said they would erase something in order to write something on top. Okay, so it's all right. It's all for positive results. It is because the activity upon which the Melachah is based, namely the extinguishing performed during the construction of the Mishkan, possess this characteristic. But as we said, I mean, all of them, they're actually the same. Since the original act of extinguishing was one that achieved positive benefit, the Av Melachah that is derived from it must do so as well. So I mean, whatever it was done in the Mishkan, so Av Melachah it would be very, very follow in very precise terms. Okay, so but now as been said, the more extensive one is rabbinic prohibition. Section number 4. In subsection A, There is no positive benefit. Okay. Although the act of extinguishing that provides no positive benefit is deemed a Melachah performed not for its own sake, is permitted under biblical law. It is forbidden under rabbinic law. Accordingly, if one extinguishes a fire in order to conserve fuel, or in order to prevent his belongings from being burned, he has violated a rabbinic prohibition. So, well, let's continue and then we return. So, number one, a decrease of severity. Generally speaking, the rabbinic prohibition against extinguishing is more severe than other rabbinic prohibitions. So that's already exception. This is because the act forbidden by rabbinic law is identical to that of forbidden by the Torah law. All right, very interesting. They differ only in the intent and the purpose of the transgressor. Consider, if one extinguishes a candle, so the wick will light more easily. On another occasion, he has violated the Torah law, since his purpose is to achieve the positive benefit of the charred wick. Okay. On the other hand, if he extinguishes the candle because he no longer desired the light, he violated the rabbinic law. Right, since the purpose was simply to rectify the undesirable situation. Both acts are identical in that both produce a charred wick. Very interesting. The difference between them lies solely in the intention of the transgressor. Since this act that has the potential to be biblical transgression is of greater severity than on rabbinical transgression. However, there are cases of extinguishment that do not possess this greater stringency. For example, an act of extinguishing a gas flame by turning off the gas intrinsically different than the biblically prohibited act of extinguishment. So we're going to see. Since the gas flame leaves no charred wick, right, or fuel behind, very interesting, its extinguishing cannot ever provide a positive benefit. It is inherently rabbinic transgression and is thereby no greater severity than other rabbinic transgressions. So, all right, so let's do from the beginning, and we're going to explain BeEzrat HaShem. So again, section number 4, rabbinic prohibition. So, and as we already saw, it's a very not simple halacha. So it's very different from all others that we learned before, right? All others, we're in chapter 33, right, close to the end. So all others were very simple. This is forbidden on a biblical level, and this is forbidden on a rabbinical level, right? On a rabbinic level. But here in this extinguishing, it's like the separate degrees of rabbinic level. Some of them are very severe because they produce exactly the same result, and everything is only in the mind of the person, right? What was his intention or her intention? And second is for no, like it does not resemble the Av Melachah at all, right? But right in end result. Okay, so for sure there is a regular rabbinic way and more stringent rabbinic way. So let's do from the beginning, and BeEzrat HaShem we try to understand. And it says there is no positive right where there is no positive benefit. So rabbinic, no positive benefit. So biblical, always positive benefit. So although the act of extinguishment that provides no positive benefit is deemed as Melachah, performed not for its own sake, right, and is permitted under biblical law, it is forbidden under rabbinic law. So as always, accordingly, if one extinguishes the fire in order to conserve fuel, right, oil, for example, right, or a candle even, or in order to prevent belongings from being burned, he has violated rabbinic prohibition, right? And we have to be careful. And I think in the laws of Shabbos will be said when we discussed in where exactly to light the candles, right? And where like a location of the candles, and we said that we have to get a benefit from the candlelight, right? In a place we eat, or at least in a place where we prepare food, or some other place where we can actually derive benefit, right? And one of the condition was, it's actually like straight from Gemara, right? They say don't put it in a way like of the draft. Right, so meaning if you're going to open the door and it's going to draft of the wind, they can extinguish the candles, or somebody would open the window like suddenly, very fast, and there is a gust of wind and can extinguish the candles. So in these places, we're not allowed to put the candles. Right, even whatever happened, it was unintended. Somebody came from outside, they opened the door, like a normal way of doing things. Right, and it's passed after the candles were lit. Right, it says it's absolutely forbidden to put candles there or next to the window. Okay, unless nobody's going to open the window, or like when somebody opens the door, there's no draft. It's very in not close to the door, very away from the door. Okay, so all these things must be taken into consideration. Of course, again, nobody wants to extinguish the Shabbos candles, but we have to understand that it would be if somebody did it, it is a sin, and they would need to bring offering, at least do teshuah, right? Because they did not consider it important enough. Okay, so and we start subsection 1, decrease of severity. Generally speaking, the rabbinic prohibition against extinguishing is more severe than the rabbinic prohibition, right? Right, so meaning again, the generally speaking, rabbinic prohibition against extinguishing is more severe than other rabbinic prohibitions. So all other majority of other rabbinic prohibition, they on the same level, nothing changes. But this is, as we said, split into two cases. This is because the act forbidden by rabbinic law is identical to that forbidden by biblical law, by Torah law, biblical law. This differs only with intent and the purpose of the transgressor. So very interesting. So meaning from outsider, they would not know, right? If they see end results, right? How it was done, what transgression was on a biblical or rabbinic level. Consider, if one extinguish a candle so that the wick will light more easily on another occasion, he has violated the Torah law, since his purpose is to achieve the positive benefit of the charred wick. So as I said, that's the only example that I would know, closer, would something would be forbidden on a biblical level. Maybe there are others, but not for people who lives in the city or some, maybe in villages. I don't know. Right. So and we continue. So meaning, if somebody extinguish the candle, so the wick would burn easily next time. So right, and that's what his intention. He transgressed on a biblical level because it was intended result, positive result. On the other hand, if he extinguished candle because he no longer desired the light, or somebody wants to sleep, right? Or there is a sick person in the room, right? And they cannot fall asleep with this candle, for example, right? He has violated rabbinic law, right? Rabbinic law, since the purpose was simply to rectify the undesirable situation. And this, I think, it's a key word, right? Rectify an undesirable situation. So it is what is it? It is for right. It would be forbidden only on a rabbinic level, and actually for a severely sick person, if a person is very disturbed with the light and they want to try to fall asleep, we can ask non-Jew if they're around to distinguish light. Otherwise, we can extinguish. Of course, not in an indirect way, but we can extinguish ourselves. Right, because it's same as for this person, we can do some, give them medicine and transgress other melachos, and needless to say this one, because for sure it's going to be on the rabbinic level. Okay. Both acts are identical in that both produce charred wick, right? the difference between them lies solely in the intention of the transgressor. Okay, since this act, so meaning he wanted the charred wick so he can light the candles easily, or his wife, right? Or just to not to have light. Okay. Since this act has a potential to be biblical transgression, right? It is of the greater severity than ordinary rabbinic transgression. Maybe a person, like next time it would be easier to light. So even though it was not started not like that, but in the mind he think that he derive benefit. So it could be also a problem on a biblical level. And the problem on a biblical level, yes, they say we don't have temple, yeah, but HaShem said I'm going to take care of all of these transgressors. That's the thing, right? So meaning a person deserves chorus, and especially a person think that is not a big deal and nobody saw it, and maybe I have this intention, but that intention. So meaning that's problematic, right? Because a person never going to do teshuvah. That's the biggest issue. Okay. However, there are cases of extinguishment that do not possess this greater stringency. For example, an act of extinguishment of gas flame by turning off the gas intrinsically different from rabbinically prohibited act of extinguishing. So meaning they're extinguishing they would leave a charred wood, right? Charcoals, or in case of the in case of the candle would this charred wick, but in case of the flame, it's just removing the flame. Period. Nothing happens, right? And plus, as we said, person can do it in with deviation. So for sure, it's very different from biblical prohibition. Since the gas flame leaves no charred wick or fuel behind. Right, so I mean, it's not like you try to save some fuel. I mean, if you think about, yes, I'm going to pay less because I use the less fuel, but it's very abstract. So the direct application would be that somebody have oil candles, and now they're going to preserve more oil. That's the way I understand. But otherwise, it's not. It's not even remote. Biblically, so it's on rabbinical level. So quickly from the beginning, the whole sentence. Since the gas flame leaves no charred wick or fuel, its extinguishing cannot ever provide a positive benefit. Okay. It is inherently rabbinic transgression and is therefore of no great severity than other rabbinic transgressions. So again, our sage is split in two different levels. So meaning, in this sense, we have to act stringently in some cases. Section number 5, and it says activities include a Melachah of extinguishment. Okay. These following activities violate Melachah of Mechaber. Number A, extinguishing a fire. B, decreasing size of a fire. And C, removing fuel from the fire. Right. So, okay, so let's see from the beginning, and we're going to see. So again, activities included in Melachah of extinguishing. Right, the following activities will let the Melachah of extinguishing. So extinguishing the fire, so that's straightforward to understand. Decreasing the fire, so this is not obvious, right? So meaning that the fire is still there, but it's smaller, right? But it is still considered to be extinguishing. And C is also even less obvious, removing the fuel from the fire. So meaning it is going to extinguish faster. So right, so removing fuel. Okay, and A, extinguishing the fire. Any and all of the methods of extinguishing violate the Shabbos prohibition. These include: number 1, extinguishing fire by pouring liquid upon it. Number 2, extinguishing the fire by blowing it out. This refers not only to the case in which a person blows a fire by mouth, but to any case in which a person extinguishes a fire by directing a current of air into it. One example would be opening a door swiftly next to the lit candle. Another would be opening a window next to the burning candles, where the wind will extinguish the flames. See practical applications. Okay. And number 3, smoothing a fire by placing something over it. Okay. So let's try to understand. So first type of extinguishing, as you see, like very straightforward. Very straightforward, extinguishing the fire. Right. Again, any in all methods of extinguishing violate the Torah, the Shabbos prohibition, they include. So again, that doesn't matter if somebody blew it off, or like indirectly, as we said, opened the door, opened the window. In this case, the way I understand, if a person did everything correctly according to halacha and would not put the candles next to the window or across to the window, but now he wants to extinguish, so he would open the window, right, and then suddenly open the door and by this extinguish it. Okay, so meaning it is indirectly, but still prohibited. So number 1, extinguish it by putting liquid upon it. So that's very straightforward. Whatever liquid is it, usually liquids, whatever liquid is, usually liquids extinguish fire. Right, and I think we had one of the clips in Emunah Bitachon about Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, when his daughter was once upset on Erev Shabbos, and when he came, he said, "My dear, what's going on? Why are you so upset?" And she said, "Father, I made a huge mistake. What? I put the vinegar in our Shabbos candles instead of oil. So what are we going to do?" He said, "What is the problem? Why are you so upset? The one who said that oil should burn, so he's going to make vinegar burn. What is the problem?" Of course, we made I don't know how many, 5, 6, 10 clips on this story, about this story from different perspectives. And one of the perspective was very interesting. So meaning why HaShem created this miracle, for Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa. Make this vinegar burn, and not only burn, it's burn actually longer than oil until the end of the Shabbos, until end even past the end of the Shabbos, which is very, very interesting. So you see there is a clear miracle. So and we know that Hashem usually does not get involved, right? Does not disrupt the free choice. So meaning a person would experience miracle. So now a person would count on this miracle, and there is no free choice. So if a person know that if they do something wrong, they're going to get punished, or if they do something right, suddenly they give tzedakah and they got 25% back or something, or whatever they got plus 15% or whatever, right? So meaning there is no free choice, right? No free choice. So Hashem does not take a free choice unless attitude of the person is not going to change. Nothing is going to change. So for Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, like he said, look, it's Hashem. For me, the oil is burning, is a miracle. For me, vinegar burning is a miracle. So it's one and the same miracle. So it would not affect his free choice. It's very interesting. And one explanation. He said from Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa. Actually, I don't remember what sage was it, but we said that a nature of the liquids, of all liquids, actually to extinguish the fire, not to them make them burn. And there are only a few exceptions. One of the exceptions is oil, oil that makes it burn, right? That does not extinguish the fire, which is very interesting. So again, extinguishing the fire by pouring liquids upon it. So all other liquids extinguish, or majority of the liquids, but not oil. Okay. And number 2, extinguishing a fire by blowing it out. So even though it is indirect, but still it is forbidden. This refers not only case when in which person blows out a fire by mouth, right? But any case in which a person extinguishing the fire by directing the current of airflow on it, right? Or sometimes they have a fan, right? We can have a fan on Shabbos, and if it has a long cord, you actually can move it to wherever you want, to the destination. For example, now it's colder outside, so you want to turn it out, not blow on you. There is no problem. Right, so meaning if you have such a fan and a long cord, extension cord, so you can a person can blow the candles, which is has been decided is forbidden. One example would be opening the door swiftly next to the lit candle, right? Another would be opening the window near the burning candles, where the wind will extinguish the flames. So you see practical application. Usually you need to create draft or you in like a bungalow or something, like a tiny space, right? Bungalow, it's actually very problematic because usually all of the windows and doors are usually open because it's hot. Okay, practical discussion. Continue. Number 3, smothering a fire by placing something over it. So, meaning very indirect, you have like a lid or a cup. For example, if you have these candles, right? Candles that can burn for multiple hours. The Yankee candles, they call it. Right? I mean, style. So, and they can come in a glass jar with a lid. So when you want to extinguish, you just put the lid on top, and it's going to extinguish. Right. So of course it's indirectly, but it's also forbidden. And we continue. B, decreasing the size of the fire. So as we said, this is for majority of the people not so obvious, right? So, and it says, even if one does not extinguish the fire completely, but merely decreases its size, it has transgressed Melachah of extinguishing. Accordingly, one may not tilt or a lit oil lamp on Shabbos, for by doing so, one causes some of the oil to move away from wick, thereby decreasing the size of the flame. Right. Therefore, one carrying a table with a lit oil lamp upon it must be careful not to carry too quickly, lest he cause the oil to move away from the wick. So let's try to understand what's going on here. So from the beginning, decreasing the size of the fire. So decreasing the size of the fire. Straightforward example, you have gas stove. I mean, it's easier to imagine gas stove, and you decrease the size of the fire. So again, even one does not extinguish the fire completely, not completely, but merely decreases its size. Right. He has transgressed the Melachah of extinguishment. So meaning not completely, this is the side. Accordingly, one who may not tilt the lit oil lamp on Shabbos. So it's directly from Talmud Shabbos. So they say one person cannot study Torah on Shabbos, like at night, by himself. Why? Because a person, in order to see better, they would tempt it to tilt the oil, right? So more oil. Oil lamp, so the more oil would go to the wick and it's going to burn a little brighter. Okay, so but they say if two people are studying at the same table, especially if they are studying from the same book, and not only from the same book but the same topic, so one would be shomer, meaning reminds another person not to do it. But today, I mean, for us it's not applicable. Usually, even if you have candles burning, you have electric light. So, and you count on electric light, not on Shabbos candles, right? But what is applicable, right? So the situation that Rabbi Simcha Bunim Konim Shlita. So that's how he described it here. When a person must carry this table. So what does it mean? So some people, they would light the candles on a separate, like side tables, right? Sometimes side tables, small one. So in order not to make it muktzah, it's not muktzah, bosses is like base for a muktzah. You have to put there some before Shabbos, of course, some item of value, and importance. For example, you put Severity healing there, right? Or you put something that you need, challah, something that you need for Shabbos. So now this table is not muktzah. So technically, so after you finish meal and you need more space for whatever reason, so and you want to take this table with candles to the living room. For example, it was dining room. You want to take it to the living room so nobody would knock it over something. So kids now start running around, and you want these candles to keep away from them, right? So there's no problem. So you're allowed to move this table, right? Because it's not bosses, but the oil is still burning, right? Because it's proper to have candles and to burn until the end of the meal, right? So meaning some people have a longer meal, so have a pair of oil candles. That's it. So put a little more oil. Of course, you have to calculate how much more you need to put. But we have standard cups. And we know half of it, if you put half, it's going to be 5 hours, right? So minimum, it's, I think, more than enough, right? 5 hours. That's it. Right, and right. So meaning that people are still sitting around the table. They want to do the dessert later on, stuff like that. So they want to take out this small table. There is no problem, but must be careful not to shake the lamp. Okay. So 1 second. Quickly again. Accordingly, one may not tilt the oil lamp on Shabbos, and for by doing so, one can cause some of the oil to move away from the wick, thereby decreasing the size of the flame. I mean, today we have, it depends what wick we have. Some have floating wick. In this floating wick, there is no problem at all. We don't use floating wick. We use standard wicks, right? Again, today technology is so different from olden days. I mean, I'm not sure how they do the wicks. I think it's cotton, and covered with wax, I think. So that's why they're always straight, always nice, right? And they're not affected by more oil or less oil, right? Therefore, carrying the table with a lit oil lamp upon it one must be careful not to carry too quickly, lest he causes the oil to move away from the wick. But a little shaking is not a problem. Okay, so that's a very practical example, right? Of course, the person must be careful by carrying it, and of course, it's proper. Like on this table, even on this table, you have some metal trays or a glass tray, whatever people have. If a candle would fall, so would not create fire hazard. And we continue. Removing fuel from the fire. One who removes fuel from the fire causes the fire to go out more quickly. So meaning it's the same flame, but it's going to finish faster. Apologize. Okay, sorry. So more faster. Right. So one second. More quickly. This is a violation of Melachah of extinguishing. Right. So meaning it's going to be extinguished. If it's extinguished on its own, without our involvement, there is no problem. But the problem is when we did something. Accordingly, one may not remove oil from the oil lamp or cut off part of the lit candle on Shabbos. So meaning, I heard about it. Right, so people would cut the bottom of the candle so it would extinguish faster. Okay, so we don't do that. So let me see quickly how much is left. Okay, so I think, right, exactly, we have enough material for one more class on this stuff. Okay, we stop here.